Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa, a channel, a platform, and a modality where we apply the principles of philosophy, spirituality, mysticism, and business and good strategic planning and preparedness to rapid lifestyle transformation, to getting you free from the prison grid, which now is being put more into relief, and the urgency of it is really coming down, ladies and gentlemen, on this film roll. And tonight is sort of like an emergency broadcast, ladies and gentlemen, because in case you've been sleeping under a rock, very momentous geopolitical events have occurred over the weekend and in the beginning of this week. And ladies and gentlemen, let's just say that all of the stages and all of the chess pieces are being set by the prison grid to make a sort of last-ditch effort to do away with the majority of freedoms, unfortunately. And that's why it's more important than ever to, first and foremost, understand the science of manifestation. First and foremost, understanding who you are spiritually. Because, as Einstein said, a problem cannot be solved at the same level at which it was generated, so to speak. This is cliche, and it'll sound cliche. It is cliche, but many cliches and tautologies are the most profound truths, or they're based upon the most profound truths. And as we've always taught on this channel, the means of your escape from the prison grid are not physical. They can't be. Because if you physically try to resist it, you just give it more power. As Vadim Zeland talks about in Reality Transurfing, as he discusses about pendulums, they want you to resist them. They want you to fight against them. So, in these current conflicts, which are, of course, all being designed behind the scenes, and we're not going to go into very much detail on this, but needless to say that it's not our role as manifestors to choose a side or to support any particular side. Why? Because all that does is feeds fuel to the fire, so to speak, of the conflict, and whatever side wins, being that those gains were gained through physical resistance, through conflict, well, it's usually not a very good result, no matter what happens, or it can be an excellent result no matter what happens. If you know these principles, if you know the principles of spirituality, and if you know the laws of manifestation, that we will call them, then you are in a position to benefit no matter what happens, and indeed you're in a position to get off any film roll. And indeed, as more people get together, we are in a position to foster peace. We are in a position to foster an end to these conflicts. We can end it, ladies and gentlemen. You can end it. But it cannot be done physically. As this project in the 80s that I believe was done by Greg Braden and others, called the Peace Project. It's where many people got together and meditated during the conflict between Israel and Lebanon. And on the days when they meditated, there was a measurable diminution of the conflict. The conflict calmed down during those moments when they meditated. Of course, the trick is when they stopped meditating, the things started going on. That's because a true shift had not taken place. But the true shift will take place when you shift. And this is the first law, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first law that I just want to remind you of tonight. This is not going to be a talk about politics or about geopolitics, although there are many aspects that one should be aware of if one is a person of intellect, if one is a well-rounded person. And I'd advise you to seek out those channels and individuals who have a less bias, less inside-the-box approach to current events. And we won't mention names, but I'm sure you can find them, and you will find them. But we're not even here to talk about current events. We're using current events as a reminder. And what we want to do is we want to talk about what can you and I do. What can the individual who is interested in rapid lifestyle transformation do to benefit, to protect ourselves and our families, both spiritually and physically? And the most important thing is that you know the law. The law of assumption, law of attraction, law of manifestation. They're all different slants and points of view of the same thing. But I think Bashar, the great spiritual teacher, said it most succinctly. I don't even think that he identified this as the basic ultimate law, but for the point of view of rapid lifestyle transformation, from the point of view of insulating yourself from disturbances on the outer, from the point of view of you being victorious and prospering no matter what happens, I think this is the most important law, and it applies to everything else that we talk about on this channel. That is, ladies and gentlemen, as Bashar said, every single person lives in his own universe. And while sometimes he can see the other universes because these walls are transparent, as Bashar said, he cannot get to them unless he specifically allows his universe to change to the wavelength of that universe. This goes hand in hand with what Abraham Hicks talks about, vibration. You create your entire reality depending upon what vibration you emanate. And that goes into what Neville Goddard says, and what even the great teachers of old said, the great poet like William Blake and others, that the whole universe is states. And these states are lifeless unless you occupy them and then give them life by your attention, by your occupation of them, and that becomes your universe. And everything that happens to you, by you, through you, whatever, is all simply a figment of that state. Therefore, nothing can affect you unless you allow it to affect you by your giving attention to that. And here's the most important thing, by the specific manner in which you give attention to that. And let's go into that, because a lot of people in law of assumption, law of attraction, will say that we should not focus on the news at all. Indeed, Neville Goddard said that many men, they read the news in the morning and they focus upon that which they should not feed upon, and so on and so forth. And he also advocated for his mental diet, where you would fast from any news of ill report and so on and so forth. But Neville Goddard himself was an avid reader of the newspapers. This is what his biographers and friends said. So how can we balance this? How can we reconcile these? Well, like myself, I love geopolitics, just personally, and also in my educational endeavors, other endeavors off this channel, as well as my investment endeavors. Ties into that. Ties a lot into currency trading. When I read about geopolitics and learn what makes certain peoples tick, learn the characteristics and the focal points and so on and so forth, and points of conflict in each region, it lights me up, it interests me, because this is a study, again, of vibration, and it's a study of psychology. Indeed, it's a study of spirituality. Even Machiavelli knew that he was studying the spiritual aspects of man. And so when I read it, I'm not taking it from a position of fear, but I'm doing it from a position of interest. So all you have to do is Abraham Hicks says. Now, here's the deal. For beginners in this, for absolute beginners, it's a good thing to go on mental diets and not even read the news, because you're going to get yourself bent out of shape, you're going to get yourself into fear, and then you're going to attract negative things to you. That's absolutely true. But for most of the viewers of this channel now, we're pretty much settled in our core viewers. You're not beginners. Even if you have just started studying this material on law of assumption, you're not beginners, because you've been working with and operating with this material for a long time, as have I, and as have all of us. You are able now to go into the subtleties of this and measure yourself and measure even the specific time frames in the day when maybe I shouldn't look at this. Maybe in the morning I shouldn't read the news, and I usually don't because I want to keep my vibration pristine. But then in the afternoon, if things are going pretty well and I'm feeling pretty solid, then I'll go into that and get excited. Sometimes one will get nervous and get into negativity, in which case he focuses upon something else. This is a very fine-tuning modality, but it's something that I believe the majority of watchers of this channel are ready for. This is all part of rapid lifestyle transformation. But in order to do what we're trying to do, ladies and gentlemen, it will behoove you to be at least sufficiently well-informed and to know the basis of what's going on so that you don't fall into any traps and so on and so forth. So, this is a very vibrationally delicate subject, but I think people who watch my channel are ready because we're people who are interested in taking these laws and applying them to the physical. But right now, when there's a lot of fear going on, there's a lot of uncertainty, many people are panicking, indeed, many people are getting ready to benefit. It behooves us to take a step back and to remember what are the core modalities, what are the core laws. And the core law is this, as Bashar said, you are your own universe. So if there's anything happening on the outer that you don't like, there's nothing you have to go to do and change that because you can't change the universe. But what you can do is change your universe. You can change yourself. You can meditate. You can go into mindfulness. And this will be sort of a prayer for peace. And this mindfulness will tip the balance for the situation. And we're going to do a short meditation for that here in the next few moments. And I'd invite all of you to do it. And I wish we could do this live at the same time. And perhaps if there are many of you out there who would want to do a live call on this, we could meditate live. Because even a few people, if we could get all 250 subscribers on this channel to do it, man, with the power that we have and with the knowledge that we have, we could affect peace physically. But it doesn't take that. All it takes is you changing yourself. And when you change yourself, the whole panorama changes. Now, on this film roll, these occurrences that are happening around the world, because it's not only the Israel-Palestine conflict, China's now getting involved. Of course, we have the whole deal in Ukraine and Russia. I'm not going to go much further in current events, but everything's setting up to become this global conflict, and we all know why it is. Because powers that be have always been interested in perpetuating conflict so that they could exercise more control over populations. Well, I know that I'm not a part of that. I know that you don't want to be a part of that. That's why we're seeking this rapid lifestyle transformation. But we can't do it by struggle. We have to do it by getting into ourselves, working on ourselves, going into the silence, and applying the tools and techniques to get us into another state so that then we're completely insulated from whatever might happen on the outer. That was just a short little reminder, ladies and gentlemen. What I do want to do now is I do want to go into the silence. And I want to just take a few moments to go into the silence with the intention of peace, stability, and goodwill for all of the participants in every single conflict on the globe. And we do that simply by going into what the New Thought authors call the silence, simply by going within and by being completely present and feeling the peace. So you can close your eyes if you'd like. And you can just feel the sensations that you feel of your inner body, the sensations of the room. And you can just be completely in the silence. Go into the silence. Figure out your own method to do it, because there are a lot of meditation CDs. There are a lot of instructions, and we give instructions on this channel. We'll continue to, but really, you've got to get independent of this, and you've got to figure out a way to do it. Why? Because no meditation teacher can tell you what works for you. They can help you and they can point the way, but all of your authority is within. So ask yourself within. And just focus. You can focus on your heart. You can look into the darkness and just focus on the void. But in the back of our mind is the intention. We're doing this for peace, for prosperity, for love. Fear not. Just the message that's being inspired to me is fear not. All is well. But do remember me. Remember the I am. Remember who you are. And how to manifest the spiritual on the physical? Here's the answer that's coming to me now. To manifest the spiritual in the physical, you must drop the physical and become the flame of the spiritual which consumes all else. Drop the physical and be in the spiritual, and then the spiritual must manifest. But don't worry about the manifestation. And right here in the spiritual, there's no war, there's just complete peace. Complete love and complete receptivity. Now just come back to the room. Ladies and gentlemen, we have made an impact. We've made a real impact. And we will look for results of that as they will come in the coming days. We won't look for them, but we'll be open to them. So thanks for watching, guys. We are going to be continuing with the strategic planning, with the iteration phases, with figuring out actually how to test your ideas of income generation. There are going to be new opportunities opening up in the next few weeks and months that we don't want to miss. We want to be ready for that. We want to be in receptive mode. So do join me. If you find value in our materials, do subscribe and like. I am doing coaching calls. I will help you attain more in 2 weeks, 3 weeks than many people attain in months, and we will go into this deeply. All aspects of rapid lifestyle transformation, of getting free from a job and a boss within a year, 6 months to a year, but for the sake of our project, we're doing it for a year. So, thanks for watching, guys. I will see you guys in the coming days very soon with much love and appreciation. This is Javier. Ciao.